In depth tonight, a look at how the gift of life includes organ and tissue donation.
Donated heart valves save lives. Burn victims are given a second chance through grafted skin. Even dental implants can make a difference every day.
But tonight, a federal agency is concerned about tissue donation practices, and a local man is speaking out, saying this life-saving trade is too driven by profit. News 3's David Douglas now with the investigation. David.
Unlike donated organs, Eric, which can never be charged for, donated human tissue is processed and then sold for implantation. It's a billion-dollar industry, but one federal health officials say is left open to abuse and mistakes.
She was just a wonderful little girl.
On Earth, Alyssa Truitt was her parents' angel, filling the Sun Prairie couple's home with joy. When she died at age 2, her memory gave light in a dark time. Alyssa's donated organs, a rebirth for another little girl.
It was an incredible thing. We saw firsthand what her gifts did. We saw the life that she saved.
So moved by the gift of life, her father, Chris Truitt, changed careers, becoming a tissue recovery technician, but discovering a world that rattled both his expectations and convictions.
The key phrase was maximize the donation, which meant not just take everything that you possibly can, but take everything that you can see.
What many people may not realize is when you sign up to become an organ donor here at the DMV and get the orange dot on your driver's license, you're becoming an organ, tissue, and eye donor, unless you limit that donation. And when it comes to tissue, unlike organs, there's money to be made.
In my own experience, there were friendly competitions within the office to see who can get the most.
For 5 years, he harvested tissue from hundreds of donors. Not limited to hospitals, the recoveries often took place inside funeral homes and even nursing facilities. Ultimately, Truitt became so uncomfortable, without another job, he left the business in 2006.
I said, looking at this from the donor family perspective, being who I am and knowing what I know working here, we're mutilating these donors.
By the time he exited, his company was under the banner of RTI Donor Services. Its parent, Florida-based RTI Biologics, around the same time found itself linked to a sickening stolen tissue scheme.
You're pleading guilty because you are guilty, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Arrested in February 2006, Michael Mastromarino and his conspirators would go to prison for forging consent forms and chopping up cadavers for cash in the nation's northeast, but not before the tissue could be processed by several companies, including RTI, which maintains it only found out about the criminal conduct after police moved in on Mastromarino.
You had over 8,000 individuals in the United States that received stolen body parts in their bodies because none of it was consented to by the family members.
Florida attorney Kevin Dean represents those family members now suing RTI for tissue they say was stolen. It's because of that litigation the company has turned down our request for an interview. But in a statement, RTI says there has never been a confirmed transmission of any disease through the implant of sterilized RTI allograft tissue.
The issue that I think doctors and patients need to know is that tissues are not sterile.
At the CDC in Atlanta, Dr. Matthew Kunert heads the Office of Blood, Organ, and Tissue Safety. In the past, patients have become infected with disease through tissue transplantation. How often?
We can't answer that question. We know that there are risks. We don't know the level of risk because we don't have a surveillance system to track problems with tissue.
Unlike the nation's blood supply, which is carefully monitored, no similar system exists for human tissue. The FDA does oversee tissue banks themselves, but that's it. And as such, Kunert feels with so many recoveries taking place outside of medical settings, the oversight doesn't go far enough.
When a tissue is recovered from the donor to where it's implanted into the recipient, there needs to be tracking and surveillance at each and every step.
I can't tell you how many nights of sleep I lost.
For Truitt, Kunert's words offer hope. After leaving the industry because of what he saw, he hopes he'll one day see the gift of life for what it should be.
We've got to fix this. We can't stop donation. The burn victims need it. You know, those disfigured with horrible injuries need the tissues, but we have to fix it.
We asked the state of Wisconsin for a list of sites where tissue is recovered, but it maintains no such register. Tissue banks are regulated by the FDA, but they are not licensed or registered in Wisconsin.
And infections, according to, you heard the doctor talk about that, they've been spread because of this lack of tracking, right?
Kunert points to a case where organ recipients became infected with hepatitis C, but no one told the tissue bank. So tissue recovered from the same donor was then implanted and the infection spread. He cautions patients to press their doctors on the source of the tissue and exactly what they're receiving. The CDC by no means is saying don't donate. They actually encourage it, but they want everyone to be careful and they feel this oversight is needed. There's just not money for it.
All right, David Douglas reporting tonight. Thank you, David.